Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining Stoner Detectives today. Happy Saturday. Hope everyone is having a blessed weekend so far. Today, I want to discuss the case of Celeste Hernandez. I want to play this recording. This recording is from MK True Crime. They had the private investigator, Steve Fisher, on, and he dropped something that I found interesting, and I have not heard anyone else talking about it. So let's play it and go over it. Analyze. It's what we do. It's what we do here. Okay, let's start.
That David's father has filed what's called a writ of habeas corpus. And we're getting reports that David's father has filed what's called a writ of habeas corpus, a petition for a writ of habeas corpus, which, that's just Latin for bring me the body. That's what it means. People always wonder what does writ of habeas corpus means. It's Latin for bring me the body. And it's essentially the fail safe whenever you have anything that any grievance legally has to do with your person, you appearing somewhere, not appearing somewhere, being held. That's kind of the catch-all. But he's claiming that he was summoned to testify in California and doesn't want to go. Have you, Steve, have you had any interaction with any of the family, David's family, or just strictly investigation of the scene?
No, I haven't. It's, I'll tell you, both his family and Celeste's family are staying unbelievably quiet.
Interesting.
Okay. So, totally understandable. I mean, the case, it could be that this case is so big that the attorneys have advised both families not to say a word. Okay, so at the very beginning, I mean, yeah, to me, it felt kind of strange that, your daughter, was found, unalived in this not famous, but an upcoming artist trunk, and I'd be all over the media. My face, everyone will know that I am Celeste Rivas' mother. So yes, I think that was odd, but they could have been advised by the attorney to not say a word. We don't know the magnitude of this case. Okay.
And David himself, here's a guy who self-admittedly says he grew up on the internet. The fact that he's had this ability for over 5 months to stay quiet and not say anything and clearly follow his attorney's advice is kind of shocking to me. I know his attorney's like, listen, don't say a word, but you would think a 21-year-old kid who's being accused of all this at some point would pop off, especially when he's probably been sitting in the same spot for a long time and not going out and doing things. But he hasn't. And the other thing is his friends really haven't either. Yeah. Talked to a couple people, but not
to negate what Steve is stating here. However, Zavgirl has done an intense deep dive into David's Discord. And in fact, they were talking. They were talking about Celeste. It seems like his group of friends or his Discord group were very much aware.
People that are super close, and they've done a good job too, and they've tried to circumvent these subpoenas as well. It hasn't worked out that great, but and it's not just David's father. We find out his mom and his brother also filed writ of habeas corpus, the same thing. So everybody's staying extremely quiet. His management. I just hope something breaks very soon. And to your point earlier, you're talking about, it's about using different means. Somebody will say from the law enforcement prosecution side of things, asked me, why I was taking some of this stuff public. And, and the answer to that is, as a private investigator, I don't have subpoena power like
Right.
prosecutors
Right.
have. I don't have the ability to write a warrant like law enforcement or prosecutors have.
Yep.
So sometimes I have to dog whistle to certain people and let them know that I know certain things and maybe come talk to me to clarify those things. And you know what? Every single time I get somebody that calls me and has it. So I'm not just blindly going out there and saying, look what I found.
Yeah.
I have a lot more information than what I've disclosed. I'm doing it strategically because there's certain people that I want to say, hey, here's an opportunity. Like if you got, to talk to me and oftentimes they do, or somebody they know does. It says, hey, I've got this. I just want to remain anonymous. And some people just aren't willing to talk to law enforcement.
Oh, you're my spirit animal. This is the lane I live in, my investigator. It's the people that don't want to talk to law enforcement and the things that law enforcement doesn't pay attention to. That is where I live. I totally get it. And you find so much stuff.
If it's not like in the manual, there's literally in the detective manual, they're following a process, same process every single time. And listen, it's a new day and age. I mean, there's things you got to like out of the box things you got to look at. Like going back to the Kylie Rodney case. I don't know if you guys ever followed that, but like when I found the fire cameras that showed on infrared or driving into the lake, there's just different ways of finding things now, and it's like everything's got some, just like we find. And this is probably going to be an issue for Google, I imagine, but it ends up non-subscription based Nest cameras really are recording, and they're storing that data. So there are ways of getting it. But it takes a little work. And I understand detectives are overloaded with stuff, but they love to really knock private investigators and like
and defense lawyers.
Yeah, you're not law enforcement.
Nope.
Well, it's true, but we do come up with some interesting things occasionally.
Right. And we're trying to find the truth, usually just like they are, we just have a different version of the truth that we believe. But I live in the same exact place that you live. And it's amazing how much just basic canvassing and just talking to people, just literally interacting with humans matters. In law enforcement, they go out all, decked out, scary, and nobody wants to talk to them. And they just don't.
I'll give you a perfect example of that when you're talking about canvassing and stuff. So, and you would think that this absolutely couldn't happen, but the house directly across the street, like the Tesla used to park on the street in front of the house across the street. It's a very large house. It's owned by somebody that's well known, and it's not their primary residence, and they have an estate manager. And so and I have the video of this. Law enforcement detectives did come by, I think on the 12th. So before it was announced.
Listen to this. Steve said a very well-known neighbor who lives across the street where David parked his Tesla. Listen to this.
It was her, and they buzzed the gate and said, hey, we're looking for surveillance for a homicide investigation. And they were at the house out of state. They're like, well, we're not in state right now, but they'll have the IT person look for So, which they did have this person look for, but then didn't hear back from the detectives, and I think they played phone tag or whatever. And then, but they had already had a scheduled upgrade of the security system scheduled. And so like the 24th of the month, nobody had come and got the stuff yet. So they took the 8 terabyte drive out and replaced it with a new 24 terabyte. But once you take the 8 terabyte out of this particular system, you can never view the files on it again. So 8 terabytes of data of a camera pointing directly at.
Oh my God.
It was gone.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine?
Yeah. Now, they're not going to be.
This smells like a cover-up to me. We need to be very vigilant. We need to have discernment. We need to call it out. What is happening here? What is happening with this case?
Happy that I disclosed that, but I don't care because these are the type of things that, like Celeste, we got to do this for Celeste, and
her family deserves to know. I mean, can you imagine if you were her parent?
14.
Yes, like
14
you did.
years old. Celeste Rivas Hernandez. We should say her name. And the fact that the family of David is clamming up, and that just looks bad. I mean, if they don't want to talk before a grand jury, they could take the fifth if it's going to self-incriminate. but it seems like they're just trying to prolong the agony for this poor girl's family by saying
it does. But Dave, I will tell you, I'll challenge you on that one a little bit, because this is one thing that makes me mad about folks, about what law enforcement does. So they have challenged it, but they said they didn't say they didn't want to testify. They said they want to see their statements. They want to see their affidavits, and law enforcement's not willing to do that. Let me just tell you, if you called me and subpoenaed me in front of a grand jury, by God, I want to see my statement. I want to see it, because you know what? I don't remember everything exactly. And I don't want people tricking me, because, you know, everybody knows that's what people do. And why not let the witness see their statement? You know, that seems like a simple request. But
I agree with this. And I think I mentioned this in my last live, that everyone deserves due process. If you're going to subpoena me, show me. You want me to testify as a witness, then tell me, show me. Don't redact the affidavits. I want to see names. I want to see everything. Okay. It's time to be transparent. However, I understand. However, you take that flight. You're being subpoenaed. You take the flight. You get an attorney and find out. Try and get as much information as you can. If you do appear before court, you can always plead the fifth. You don't have to answer. You don't have to respond. It's kind of like, it's the situation. It's very, like, I get it. I totally get it. Let's see what else she says.
I can tell you that happens all the time. Cops call me all the time and say, I want to re-interview your client. Well, can I see the first interview? No. Well, you're not going to re-interview my client.
They got the statements. It just was partly redacted, right? So they want to see the full affidavits.
Yes, I would too. And if I were their lawyer, I'd say, you want me? That's fine. Give me the full statement.
Well, I think it's fair enough too. But then when coupled with other things like, they transferred all the assets into a trust that the mom's now the trustee on. Yeah.
I mean, there's both sides. Like, I get it. I get it. But at the end of the day, LAPD, what are you going to do? You know?
These are things that, like, we put together. It's kind of like, okay, we know what side you're on. It's not the greatest optics. But the thing is that, you know, and certainly if this starts going through trial process, they're going to drag Celeste Rivas Hernandez hard. Oh. And the thing is that I don't care if she's a runaway. I don't care if she's a difficult kid, like she's 14. Well, she was 13 when this started. 13, 14-year-old kids. You know what? That is part of the growing up process, and that happens. And if it's really out of your control, then there are processes through the state and stuff that you can tap into. But you can't say, well, you know, she kept running away and it's kind of her fault. Listen, she is not of age. She's not of age to consent. And it's not just like sexual consent. It's like she's not of age to make these type of decisions, and because she's not mature enough. And so I hope we don't see this like throwing it back on her, like, oh well, you know, she just kept coming back there. Well,
yeah, let's rewind this part. I like what was said here. We're not gonna blame Celeste. We're not gonna fucking blame Celeste for being discovered unalived in David's trunk. We're not playing that fucking game here.
You can't say, well, you know, she kept running away and it's kind of her fault. Listen, she is not of age. She's not of age to consent.
Wait,
and it's not just
listen to what he said. He said, you can't keep saying. That means he is hearing people saying this. People are actually saying this?
Controlled, then there are processes through the state and stuff that you can tap into. But you can't say, well, you know, she kept running away and it's kind of her fault. Listen, she is not of age. She's not of age to consent. And it's not just like sexual consent. It's like she's not of age to make these type of decisions, and because she's not mature enough. And so I hope we don't see this like throwing it back on her, like, oh well, you know, she just kept, you know, coming back there. Well, she kept coming back there because he's a
I do
musician
too.
living in a mansion. Of course
Right.
she's gonna get lured out. I mean,
Right.
that's
I hope
how
they know
predators
better
work.
than to throw it on her. 100%.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay, thank you for watching that with me. Leave your thoughts on this case down below. How are you feeling about this case? Will justice ever be served? Are we going to, how long is this going to drag on? Honestly, like I said, we're almost at that 6-month mark here. So,
we're getting reports that David's father has filed what's called a writ of.
so I also want to show you guys something I noticed. Zap Girl. Let me go to her page. She has done an amazing job with David's Discord. Here we go. Let's play this. I want to share this.
Covered it, so I just kind of wanted to bring something different to you guys. But yes, it looks like there is an official case with David, so that is good news. Maybe we will see some justice in this case, but I'm going to continue doing these Discord videos because from the comments on my last one, it does look like people are interested and they want me to continue. So this is going to be a good mix of different topics. The first one is going to be from March 6, 2023. David is talking about kissing and polyamorous relationships. Just thought it was kind of interesting. I don't have a ton on this topic, but let's start. Okay, so March 6, 2023 at 4:28 p.m., David says, bab, 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 bab. Alrighty. Risley Bear Marsh says, what's up? Or wisp. And then David says, oh, wait, I forgot. Alrighty. And then Tempest says, forgot what? And then Deleted also says, forgot what? And then David shares this link where it's for David Worthless Pre-Save. Go to David Worthless Pre-Save. I think it's the song Worthless. And it says, click for a kiss. And David says, big old kiss. And Risley Bearmar says, oh. And Carstoner says, hi, David. And Lust says, I heard about a new song Thursday. I think it's supposed to be.
I'm changing my name. We're changing our name. We're not going to be any storm. Fuck.
I heard about a new song Thursday, ? And Dre, in response to David saying big old kiss, Dre says, really? And Zen says, I'm going to boom you. That was in response to David's big old kiss also. And then David puts, 6 lips or kisses and says, we all married now. And then Deleted User says, David is giving out kisses now. And Zen says, he gave me a kiss at the New York show. And Lust says, what? And David says, polyamorous relationships. We all married now. And then Dre responds to David by sending him a ring, like an engagement ring, I'm guessing, since David said, we all married now. And Desire says, David went on tour and came back kissing everybody. And David says, all of us. And then Risley Bear Mar responds to David's polyamorous relationships comment and says, yep. And Viper says, all of us? ? And then David says, when the song drops, we need twerking challenge. And then David goes on to say, I will participate. And Dre says, twerk then, boy. And then David says, my cheek's going to be up. And then he says, up, up. I know it's kind of silly.
He's so gross. This is what he's doing on his Discord with who knows how old these children are, mind you.
Maybe I shouldn't even have included this in reading. It's kind of probably doesn't mean much, but just kind of showing you how, I don't know, his personality and how he is being very inappropriate in his chat, considering there's a mix of ages. So there's a lot of young kids in his chat, in this Discord. So a lot of people underage. So in my opinion, it's very inappropriate conversation to be having with young kids. I guess I included it because the sexual nature in it, just to show like these are all these kids that are in this Discord and look how he's talking to.
I love Zap Girl. Like me and her kind of like, we're on the same wavelength, girl. We're here.
Joke or not, it just strikes me as a little bit odd. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic, which is going to be, oh, this one's only has 3 messages in it, okay? It's Sophia talking about David calling her to take down the stream with Celeste. So I ended up adding a few more messages in this, so there's going to be more than 3, but I was trying to, in the 3, there's this one that somebody was responding to, and I was trying to get the reference to what that was, and then I ended up just finding some interesting conversation where Sophia is talking about banning him and kind of talking negatively about David, and other people are just saying like they don't like him or just some negative stuff. I just found it kind of interesting because they are in David's Discord. So, but like I say, I actually explained this a little bit later on in the video too. I am going to do another video where I'm going to have more of that, where you'll see like people talking about how David changed and how he's just been different and people aren't liking him in 2025, which I find that's interesting because we think that's when the murder took place. So anyway, okay, let's continue. Okay, so we're at May 9th, 2025 at 2:59 a.m. Taylor says, when I say he made the best Alfredo Parmesan I've ever had. And Reason says, David made that once on stream with his girlfriend, which I think it was the time he was with Celeste because of, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was previous messages that they were talking about this stream that I had already made a video on. Anyway.
I wonder if he used Celeste at all in his recordings, like her voice or anything. No. When I first initially I had that thought. I'm like, wait a second. Was she trying to get some like some type of payment for her talents? Like, could he have been using her that way? I don't know. I thought of this.
I'm going to skip the message in the middle because it's not really relevant. In response to Reason talking about David making that Alfredo Parmesan on a stream with his girlfriend, Taylor says, I remember that, yes. Okay, so Sophia says, chat revival, should I ban David? And Deleted says, yes. And Zolpidem says, and he said he was going to upload 2 songs on the archive and never did, shaking my head. And Sophia says, he's scamming us, no cap. And Sophia's talking about David scamming them. I notice his admins or whatever mods, they talk a lot of crap about David. It's crazy. You'll see coming up also Zerk's talking a lot of crap about him. So it's just interesting. I mean, are they joking or not that I'm saying that they're wrong and David doesn't deserve it, but admins are supposed to be there to help the person and to actually stop the people that are doing that in chat from doing that, from like bashing the creator, you know?
Yeah, this mod here is like, she's like,
Oh, so I just find it interesting. They just figure he won't see it. I don't know. Anyway, let's continue. So Billy says, I hope David gets coal for Christmas. And Initial says, who going to the David concert June 28th at Fonda? I included some of these in here because, I mean, I thought that was interesting that that's the 3-day concert that Celeste is seeing in pictures with David.
Yep.
Sophia says, he used to stream his concert. And Jazz says, I know, they're on YouTube. And then Sophia says, he got like 100,000 plus viewers on his Houston concert stream, LOL. And Deleted says, we are all too old for Discord. And Sophia says, for real, for real. And then Jazz says, how many did he usually get before that? And Sophia says, like around 10,000 plus viewers. And Jazz says, wow, that's wild. And Sophia says, yup. And then she says, one time.
I'm telling you, David He's not talented. He figured out how to he figured the algorithm. That motherfucker is not talented. I heard his stuff. He's not fucking talented. Fuck out of here.
He called me because he trying to delete that stream with his girlfriend. And we know which stream that was. We were all watched it. I mean, we watched it after the fact, that clip of it where he's telling his mods to delete it all, delete it all. Anyway. And then in response to that comment about David calling Sophia to have her delete the stream, Asher says, I remember that, LOL. And Sophia says, they're talking about that Epstein Island. Now, I'm wondering if that was supposed to be, they were talking about that Epstein Island. If she's saying that that's what they were talking about on the stream. Because
Yeah,
remember, we only caught
heard
like
it.
a small clip of it. They may have been talking about it. And that seems kind of.
Yes, I only heard that one clip of it. Could they have been talking about this? Is it possible that there's a stream out there where they're talking about the Epstein Island in detail? It's possible. Could that have been one of the reasons she was unalived? That's a possibility.
Of about right, because she was talking about the graping little kids that David did. So it doesn't seem that far-fetched that they maybe had brought up the Epstein Island. Because I'm thinking, since she responded to that, where somebody said, I remember that, referring to that stream, I'm thinking
Right.
that was a typo. And what she was saying is that they were talking about that Epstein Island. Instead, she put there, like they are, instead of they were. My guess. See, tell me what you guys think.
Yeah.
And also, we actually really don't know which stream they're talking about. I'm guessing.
Dude, this is crazy. This is crazy. I am huge on language. I am huge on linguistics. I am huge on interviews and words and all of this stuff, right? Their talking is present tense, right? It's not past tense, it's present. This is crazy, Zav.
It is one of the streams with Celeste, but it could have been another one, that he had him delete because he always had her cover her face and keep everything not public. So maybe they were talking on another stream about Epstein Island and talking about things that, he kind of got nervous about. Plus she was on there. So he's like, delete that. Maybe he's always having them delete it. Or maybe it was that same stream. Maybe they were talking about Epstein Island at one point of that stream. Or maybe that's not even what Sophia was saying about Epstein Island. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, because it helps my engagement too. Plus, I want to know what you guys think. And Asher says, yeah, with 3 crying faces. In response to Sophia talking about how David called her to delete the stream, Jazz says, so y'all talk nowadays? And Sophia says, everyone in the server does. Okay, so now we're going to jump forward to February 5th, 2025 at 7:51 p.m. Sophia says, David forgot to stream Zerks. She tags Zerks. So those of you maybe that haven't been following this real close, that KZWLA is Zerks. He changed his name back when all this stuff kind of went down, but it's 100% Zerks. Anyway, so Zerk says, I know, he texted me right now. And then he sends, he attaches a screenshot of their texting where I guess David says, big dog, this David. You'll see Zerks kind of likes to brag that he talks to David. And you could see it. It's so clear. I mean, it's so obvious that he's kind of bragging. Like he thinks it's really cool that he's talking to him. Probably not so much cool now anymore, huh, Zerks? But yeah. I mean, I guess in the moment, David was kind of, famous, internet famous and stuff. So, I mean, I kind of get it when people get excited that they're talking to their like idol or whatever. In response to Zerk saying, I know he's texting me right now, a little bit of braggy brag. Sophia says, troll him with that leak I sent you with a crying face. And then she says, Zerks, I feel like I should give you Team David because you already part of the label. And then Zerk says LMFAO, basically. And then Zerk says, I have talked to them more in the past month than you guys have all year, with 3 crying faces. And then he tags Sophia. And then he says, stream soon, guys, with 4 exclamation points. Then he sends a screenshot of David texting him saying, about to hop on Cord. So it's basically telling him David's about to be on Discord. And then Viper says, this server about to be so annoying, because everybody's going to be sucking up to David. And then that Negevin says, gatekeep, bro, with a broken heart. And he's talking about him basically talking to David. He says, gatekeep that, like responding to Zerk's attaching that text message from David. And then Ben says, didn't have to share this super duper jalooper news. And One Tornado says, no way, bruh, it's actually happening. And he's referring to Zerk's post with David saying that he's about to be on Discord. That's the attachment he's responding to. So he's getting all excited. David's about to be on Discord. Indecision says, he tags David and says, David, ever heard of touching you where the sun don't shine? Okay. And then Zerk says, I just brought him back, y'all. And X says, David, save yourself before it's too late. Some of these MFs are odd. I agree with that. Some of these people are very odd on Discord. Jose says, we need the track list like right now. And Negevin says, thank you, King, talking to Zerks about bringing him back on Discord. And then Hag says, I love Zerks, brah. He a real one. And then he says, F you. And Zerk says, I'm off call now, and posts the thing where it shows that David started a call that lasted 25 minutes. So basically he was on a call with David for 25 minutes. And then Sophia responds to that and says, E-sex, question mark, with you see the big face, the big emoji face. And Zerk says, you know it. Okay, whatever, man. You're cool, Zerks. What the heck? So do you think Zerks really did have E-sex with David, or is he just messing around? Leave your answer in the comments. I'm just curious. Viper says, I would love to have E-sex with David. And Benji says, E-sex is underrated.
I can't. But like this is what they're doing on Discord, you guys. If you have children on Discord, get them the fuck out immediately. It's like a hub for SA. I don't know, you guys. Go follow that. Go check
Using
her
the
out.
right weight matters. The body pod lets you easily understand what is the fastest way.
Go check her stuff out. She has been amazing. But there is
United.
Let me see. Is there something I
Zerk
missed?
says, what is going on? And Lan says, emoji thingy. And 100% Goon Squad. I feel good. I think that's what that stands for. IFG. In response to Zerk saying, this is why he's not in chat, Ben says, dog, he acts like this on media, with the heartbreaking emoji thingy. And 100% agree with Ben. He does act like that. I was just saying that exact thing. Maddie says, I'm not with him. Please don't put me with him. And Ben says, this is David's influence. And Zerk says, this is why I hate him. And Will says, real. Wait a minute. That makes no sense. Okay. You're bragging about talking to him. You're talking about why this is why he doesn't come in here. And then everybody's basically disagreeing with you, talking about how David's the influence. He's like the bad influence. And he's the one that's attracting these type of people because that's what he's putting out there. And now you're just like changing to fit in with everybody saying, oh yeah, this is why I hate him. Referring to David, like this is why I hate David. When normally you're bragging about talking to him and acting like he's like some god. Oh my Lord. Okay, Ben says, hashtag Zerk stop changing his name. And Zerk says, nope, roll 10. And Ghosty says, Skylar said I could have it. And Maddie says, roll 10, work or not suitable for work. So basically, it warns you that maybe you should not be viewing this during working hours or on your work computer. Okay. Any NSFW media or gore will immediately lead to you being permanently banned from the server. Hello. They were talking about it. Dave was talking about how he loves it. That's crazy. And it's one of his rules. Song leaks is one of them. Leaks of David's unreleased songs are not permitted in the server and will lead to further punishment unless the song in question is a song that David has leaked on here before or was put in David's archive. So Zerk says, argument will result in action. And Ghosty says, Skylar said I could have it. And Zerk says, well, people were talking about it, so it can't be that. And then he says, they were saying shit. And then Zerk says, long story. And Maddie says, who? And Zerk says, a bunch of people. They were mad.
Try and fly, but I only ever get.
Thank you, Zav. I appreciate you. Just some weird shit, man. Let's see what this image shows. 1 second.
Where everybody's hating on him, and it seems like something happens in 2025 where he starts acting different, that people stop liking him, which is very interesting now, knowing what we know now, because that would have been the time that Celeste's death happened, would have been sometime in 2025, right? Okay, so this next part is Zerk sharing a screenshot of him and David messaging back and forth. Now, I didn't screenshot all of the conversation that was happening before that about people were saying how I haven't done the video yet on the conversation that was happening before that about his songs being leaked and stuff. So people in chat were talking about like all of his songs getting leaked and basically before the album came out. So that's why you'll see Zerk's telling David, oh shoot, David, and David says, yeah, and he says, you're shit. I think they got all of it, the songs. And David says, happy April Fools. And Zerk says, oh, with a face, a serious face or whatever. So what I'm guessing is maybe he leaked fake songs. It wasn't actually the songs on the album, I'm guessing is what that means. So I probably will end up doing a video of that conversation where
That's crazy. This is giving me a headache, Zab. I don't know how you do it. But basically what I want to show here is that the behavior, his behavior, that's important. You know, all of these people on Discord, you know, I wish there was a way that law enforcement can question them about stuff they may know, stuff they may have saw, you know. Look, we're just here for Celeste. We want justice for Celeste. And I'm going to continue covering the case. And I'll have an update for you guys next week. It looks like on February 24th, it was said that we'll have an update as to what is going on with the grand jury investigation. So that's all I have today, you guys. I took a break from the Idaho 4 because it was becoming a bit too it's just stupid. It's honestly stupid. It's a huge cover up. You know that. I know that. Everyone knows that. It's a fucking cover up. And no one's going to do anything about it. It's over. It's over. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it really sucks. It really sucks. But unless something new comes out, unless new documents are released, I'm just not, there's nothing to do. I'm not going to sit here and go through that audio because you know what? We hear it. We hear the struggle. We know that someone is being harmed. And no one did anything about it. No one. Fuck that town. And to end it on a light note, you guys, I hope you have a blessed weekends, and see you next week. Peace out.